I realized today while we were doing this, I did not know the exact definition of what illustration meant. And it's according to the internet, illustration differs from drawing because drawing is apparently a more personal particular endeavor, whereas an illustration is more of a commercial venture. But then I was looking into what differs in illustration from graphic design and from painting, and like the line gets very blurry. It's like there's not exactly a very simple answer to it. But the one thing that I have kind of noticed that is a big separator from a lot of the other things is illustration, and correct me if I'm wrong, the three of you, because the three of you are more into this than I am, and I mean like talented. It's a lot more like pen and ink type stuff, correct? Is that a more? Am I on the right track?
Yeah. Like illustration is actually it's a mixed media art. You know, you can go from just using graphite pencils. You can use ink, watercolors, anything that can.
You can use human blood if you want.
That too. I mean, like even if you look at like music album covers, like Metallica's Reload, Load and Reload covers. If you probably noticed, it's all like liquid and stuff. Yeah. The way the media that was used in that was like jizz.
Is it really?
Other yeah.
Yeah.
The artist actually used jizz, kind of like play with the pun of the album title. So yeah.
Holy shit. We've gone from the Flintstones soundtrack to jizz in the most record whiplash time.
Welcome to me and Diego's roommate in college.
Yeah, dude.
I think the listeners are getting a sample of what it was like to hang out with you guys.
I wanted to comment further on what Diego was talking about too, because I think that does really set up the distinction, not only between the distinction mainly, I guess from my perspective, from illustration and then like being in sequential art. And in sequential art, it was like you're going to learn to draw, you're going to learn to color, and you're going to learn the letter, you're going to learn the factory method of doing this. And there wasn't a lot of room to go out to explore so much. You could. It was welcome, it was invited, but it was also like, well, you know, when you have a working job, when you have a paying job, you're probably going to use Adobe Photoshop. You're probably going to be inking and drawing in these ways. And so Diego and a couple of other people I've seen who were in the illustration route, that was definitely like the thing was like, oh, well, we're experimenting or we're working with watercolor, we're working with all these other mediums. And as I've gotten older, like I kind of regret not having taken a couple of illustration courses because there is so much texture and atmosphere that gets added when you get to, you know, play with other materials and other like substances or whatever, you know, because you can create a certain amount of organic quality to your illustrations that hard to do in Photoshop sometimes.
Yeah, like for example, like the thing that really got me into like when I started taking some sequential art courses, and you know Matt introduced me to a lot of artists as well. Like I started to notice like Alex Ross, for example. He's one of my favorite illustrators, and he does art only for, you know, comic book, anything DC, Marvel, and all that stuff. And the thing that I love about that guy is that he's the one who kind of brings like a sort of realism into the characters, into his art style. That's what I love. And then there's also the other side of the coin, which is like Dave McKean.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. It's like he's very illustration oriented.
Yeah, that guy, he does mixed media type art. Like if you probably seen his art and don't recognize it, mainly in music. He did the CD cover for what was it? Was it Counting Crows? Yeah, I think it was for Counting Crows. The Fishbowl.
I swapped my whatever for two goldfish. The storybook.
Yeah, exactly. He did that. Dave McKean also did artwork for this band Fear Factory. He did a lot of art for that group, and
the movie Mirror Mask.
Exactly. Oh my God, Mirror Mask. That's a beauty.
I was looking them up right now because I was like, The cover to Ash's, I think it's Scary Monsters. Seems like it's Dave McKean, but I don't know if it actually is Dave McKean. The Bowie
Scary
album.
Yeah.
I think he did that actually.
You sure?
I'm
Okay.
not sure.
That's
But
one of those things where I'm like, it looks like him, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
It might be just
Yeah.
somebody biting off his style, the way that movie posters just do Drew Struzan
Right.
Mountain of Heads these days, and they basically copycatted this kind of structure that he designed, and now
Well,
it's
if
boring
it's
as fuck.
Scary Monsters, it'd be before Dave McKean. Is that right?
It would be
Like
before
timeline
what?
wise, be before Dave McKean's heyday, because like Dave
Yes.
McKean really rose to prominence with like the Sandman covers.
yeah,
I'm not seeing
And
any
that was, like,
confirmation of
80s.
it, so. I don't know,
and
so.
also he did the art for the famous Arkham Asylum comic.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
Oh,
he's also
see that one I
Yeah.
know because it's a
Yeah,
little bit more
exactly.
mainstream and it's Batman. So that's how I would know.
The
So
other comic artist I would want to mention is Bill Sienkiewicz, who.
Oh yeah, Bill Sienkiewicz, so amazing.
Yeah, he's definitely another one. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Joe.
no, it's fine. Listen, I love when you guys talk about this because I have no idea about any of these people until you come to like their most well-known work of art, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I think I know that. Is Batman involved? Because if it is, then I probably do. But otherwise, it's just like, oh, I'm gonna get to Google that later. I'm curious to know from the three of you though, if you had like a because I mean you all have somewhat a little bit experience doing illustration, whether or not it's your primary thing. Do you guys like have a preference for any kind of the mediums that you would use in it, or like what's the most like out there thing that you've either come up with or used? Like obviously you referenced jizz. I'm pretty sure the three of you gentlemen have not utilized that in your work, but if you have, you feel free to mention it. I'm just curious to know, like what would be, or even if it's not something you've used, but like something that's maybe struck you as like really creative from like another artist that you've thought to yourself, I'm going to save that for my arsenal one day and use that. Is there any particular material that's kind of struck you?
Well, personally, mainly for functionality, or what's that word I'm looking for? Effectiveness. I've been going more digital in a way. Like mainly what I do is just like do a quick sketch on my sketchbook, pencil and ink, and then I just kind of scan the picture or take a picture of it and put it on my computer, vectorize it. That way I'll just kind of like color in either using Photoshop or Illustrator, and then kind of go do whatever I want right there, But traditionally, if I had the option, I would go crazy with. Well, I usually would use watercolor or concentrated dyes, since it kind of I kind of like the whole idea how it kind of blends all together with tints and everything.
Yeah.
And then the other one, which is like a more dry and reusable medium, would be gouache, which I found out when I was in SCAD, which is like something totally new, and I can't really find it here in Costa Rica, and it's driving me freaking insane.
What the hell is gouache? I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, gouache. Yeah, gouache is kind of like if you grab acrylic paint and you just kind of you actually literally grab some water, put it on the paint, you mix it up, and then you kind of paint it over. And then the cool thing about it is that when it dries, you can still reuse it, just adding a little bit more water onto it. So what I would do with gouache is I would paint gouache, let it dry, then I grab some color pencils and paint, draw color on top of the gouache painted areas to kind of blend it and give some texture on the image. And ever since I don't have any access with that, I've been dying, man. But yeah.